So what's the benefit of, the city of Buffalo's building this out as a utility for the residents, the benefit?
I think that's the biggest differentiator, the biggest difference between us and the competitors. We have the local technicians. We're going to build this for the community, the investments for the community. That 1 hour response time is something we're going to hold true, even if once we get bigger and bigger. We have about 250 customers on the network right now. That expansion is going to get into the thousands eventually, and we'll still try to commit to that same service level as we move forward.
This is the Buffalo Community Podcast, all about the greatest small town in the USA, the people in it, and how it all works together. Here are your hosts, Tyler Reese and Mark Benzer.
Hey everybody, it is the Buffalo Community Podcast, and we've got some interesting guests here, and they're representing Buffalo Fiber from the city. We've got Jason Musburger and Stephen Doubt. But before we jump into their introductions, we're going to hear a quick message from our friends over at Forge.
Hi, I'm Stephen Wachek, one of the owners and coaches here at Forge Fitness. A lot of people ask, what do we do here? Well, we focus on your longevity, meaning we focus on your health and the quality of your life as you age. So by the time you get to the end of your life, we want you to be able to do things that you want to do and enjoy. We take a lot of pride in the community that we've built, knowing that our members come for a great workout, but they stick around because of the community and the friendships that they have. If interested in joining us at Forge, we offer a 7-day free trial, and you can find us at www.forgefitness.co, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram.
Thanks, Steve. All right. Jason, Stephen, thanks for coming in, and you're going to educate us about Buffalo Fiber. Not to be confused about BWIG, which we'll get to.
Perfect.
All right. Jason, you guys start. Educate us a little bit.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having us, Tyler. Mark, we really appreciate it. Buffalo Fiber, we're excited. There's a big rollout this year. So Buffalo Fiber's been around since probably 2019.
2019.
Kind of transitioned from BWIG. We'll have a good spot to talk about that. But it's a fiber service that we're building out through town. We're going to have every connection within the community in the next 5 years is the end goal. Going to be a full symmetrical service, so all your down speeds and up speeds are going to be the same. But Steven's here for more the technical side. But on the local community side, it is a community ISP, so it's going to be owned by the city. It'll be it'll return investments back into the city. With that, you're going to have local customer service. Our technicians live in town, so you're going to have same-day response. And within the hour right now, we have the capacity to have 1 hour response. So great things for the community. And I'll let Stephen kind of get into the technical side.
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, obviously with the BWIG and stuff, the fiber that the city of Buffalo has actually goes back to 2001 about, is when we put the first 48 fibers in. So we've been doing fiber as a backbone.
Before we get too far technical and we lose people, we're talking about fiber optic cable internet service.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So
You got it.
when we say fiber, it's fiber optic, fast internet.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. All right.
So it's so get into that a little bit. So essentially how fiber works is all of the cabling is glass. And the glass is the size of a human hair. I mean, each individual fiber is tiny. A 288 count fiber cable is, about that big, which in coax or anything like that, you're talking about, 4 or 5 cables in that same size of cabling. So there's a lot, you can get a lot more in because the fibers are so small. But also along with that, it's, like I said, it is glass. So we shoot a laser through the glass, and that's what's communicating and sending that data as light across a piece of glass. So it is glass, so it is breakable. You can actually crack it, which is a bad day. But it is the fastest current way to get service for anything as far as internet goes. And even other companies out there and stuff that are cable and stuff, they do a lot of their backbone is fiber. It's the direction everything's going.
Sure. Tell us, so So the importance of having fast, and as data is going to be here. I mean, data's here. Everything is going more cloud driven. As businesses run more and more on, it's not really hard drives anymore. It's cloud. I mean, everything is kind of almost internet based or subscription based or streaming based. I mean, the importance of having something like fiber versus your regular, not even dial up, even faster internet than that. So yeah. You ask a Gen Zer what a dial tone on like the internet. That's what the internet used to sound like, kids.
Yeah.
That importance of building out in a community the size of Buffalo, kind of maybe expand on that.
Yeah. So obviously the big thing was during COVID, people started working from home, which is a massive part of needing that good internet at your house that can function and you can get that high speed and you're not losing calls, because if you're working from home and all of a sudden your internet drops out, suddenly you're not working. It's becoming more important. I think that's getting faster and faster, right? Especially with the way video is going and stuff like that. And that's one of the nice things about a fiber service too, is like for our speeds, we supply a symmetrical speed. So if your download speed is our slowest package, a 300 meg service, right? You're getting 300 meg down, but you're also getting 300 meg up. Now, granted,
What does that mean? Down and up?
So download speed would be if I'm going to the internet and I'm trying to take something from the internet and bringing it to my computer, that would be your download. Upload would be if I'm trying to take something for the podcast, for example, right? When you guys upload your episodes, that's when you want that upload speed. Now, granted, for the average customer, does high upload speed really matter, and is it really going to affect them? Probably not. They probably won't even notice a difference. It is those people that are working from home or businesses that really are going to look for those speeds, especially if you get into like a home camera system, right? And you want to look at it on your phone. Well, those cameras got to send that data out to a cloud so you can get it on your phone. Well, if you have that high upload speed, you're not going to have that jittery video and stuff like that, and you're going to be able to see clearly. Zoom calling, stuff like that, that's where those upload speeds really, truly matter.
Huh.
With that being said, I mean, just you said most people won't notice a difference, but will they notice a difference? I should start by saying I've never heard anybody happy with their cable internet provider. It doesn't matter which company that they're. So I'm not slamming on any specific company. Everybody's doing bad. Everybody always kind of seems like the grass is always greener on the other side. So what's the benefit of the city of Buffalo's building this out as a utility for the residents, the benefit?
I think that's the biggest differentiator, the biggest difference between us and the competitors. We have the local technicians. We're going to build this for the community, the investments for the community. That 1 hour response time is something we're going to hold true, even if once we get bigger and bigger. We have about 250 customers on the network right now. That expansion is going to get into the thousands eventually, and we'll still try to commit to that same service level as we move forward.
So I'm glad you guys are in, because I'm so naive to this stuff. I kind of know what fiber is now, and I have a feeling the internet isn't going anywhere. I kind of think it's here to stay, is my prediction, my bold prediction. But so is this is going to be billed as a utility, like water and sewer and garbage, and so basically everybody's going to have internet. It's not something you're going to opt into. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. That's why we're going to do phased build-outs. Phase one, we'll probably be able to add 500 customers by the end of it. By the end of 2024, we'll have fiber available to the right-of-way, and we'll be doing site surveys. Hopefully get the fiber all the way to their building if they take the service or not. I mean, that's the benefit of having a city-owned utility that's going to be there as soon as they're ready to transition to Buffalo Fiber or just join the network.
Yeah. And because it's an option, it's
competitive service.
Yep. It's not going to be a forced one,
Correct.
Now we can talk a little bit about when, the glory, if they can say that, glory days of BWIG. Now, some people that got internet through BWIG, it wasn't great. and these are my words, having formerly been on it, it wasn't great. This is completely different of that. So if you shudder of just, city provided internet, take that out, because it's different technology, different services, and it's actually kind of being built out differently, instead of here's, drinking through a fire hose. Now it's, kind of building it slow as smooth as fast type deal.
I like that.
Thank you. I coined another phrase today.
Yeah.
In addition to just do it.
Just do it.
Earlier today.
Yeah, we're gonna try to trademark that.
Now, one of the things, because I've sat through a couple of your not demonstrations, but not speeches, whatever.
Presentations.
There we go. Where the difference is that symmetrical speed. Like if you're at the end of a line of a regular line, it can be pretty slow, right? If 80 homes are taking internet off of it.
So you're kind of talking a coax technology.
Yeah.
That's how coax works. What Stephen was explaining, the fiber, is that kind of that speed of light. That's a phrase. I don't know if it's technically that fast, but with that speed of light, you don't have that latency issue. If you're the 80th home on the block, you get the same latency, which is the speed of the data packets from house 1 to house 80. That's a fair descriptor.
Yeah, it's also, you don't have that daisy chaining between people. So
explain that.
I'll try to keep it simple. If you guys get confused, let me know, because I can ramble.
Thank you.
I can ramble at a high technical and
What daisy? What
daisy chain?
Because I want to start using that phrase more if I can.
Sure.
But I should know what it means.
Yeah.
So if you can.
Yeah. So daisy chaining would essentially be the idea of, so say I have a box at the end of a street, right? So I have like a node, and then I have pedestals going down the street. Each pedestal is actually connected to the next one down the line, which is where you get that loss. When you're saying you're the 8th house down the line, it's because they're bouncing you're moving that signal from here to here to here down that line. With fiber, so for residential fiber, we use a technology. It's called GPON, and essentially what it does is it takes a single fiber that runs to a cabinet, and then it splits that one fiber to 32 customers. But it's not daisy chain down the line, that's at the cabinet. So you have your own fiber from that cabinet all the way to your house. You're not going from, you're not sharing that line. You're sharing the main line that goes to that, but you're not sharing the line past that. So it's similar but different, I guess, in a way where, you still have a splitter in place, but you're not bouncing across a consistent line of that many customers where you would have on that.
It'd be like to kind of like break maybe in a connection term of your Wi-Fi at home, and you're trying to stream Netflix, and the kids have 6 iPads and they're all watching YouTube, and then you want to go on your phone, and then all of those things you're not going to see the latency there,
Right. So it's you won't see it in that sense of, with a 300 meg service or a gig service, a couple of iPads and TV, you're really not even going to get close to scratching the surface of your usage as far as what you have provided to you for bandwidth. Now, you could go along the lines and say, with 32 customers with a single line coming in, if they're all data mining or something crazy, you're definitely going to see some loss there. If something were like that to happen where we would notice that we have some customers that are struggling, we're going to move, we're going to make the decision to split people up, right? Let's get these 2 high users that are both using up essentially all the bandwidth for all these other customers. Let's move one over here, so then you don't have that loss in those peak hours and stuff like that. We have areas where we're using an entire 1x32 splitter. We have it full, which is great. That's part of kind of, this growth that we're talking about and the numbers and stuff. And I have not heard any complaints as far as, hey, my internet's really slow at 5 o'clock, right, when everybody's on the internet and stuff like that. We don't hear those statements. That's not saying that that's not possible, But like I said, that's when we go and look at it and go, okay, let's drop a couple people off this splitter to another one. The plus side there is, as far as that mainline fiber coming in, you have the opportunity to be able to do that, right? I can move somebody over, but GPON keeps things cost effective, so you're not running 1,000 customers back to your data center, right? Your central office, because that's a lot of fiber and that's a lot of mainline running back. So you use a splitter so you can feed a bunch of people in a neighborhood and it kind of fans out, but your main line is still open, so you can actually add more service at that cabinet.
And a cabinet is the boxes that I have in my front yard?
Yes and no. So a cabinet is, it's what you call it, right? It's a big cabinet. It's got the big metal cabinet. It's got the doors on it. I open it up. Inside of it, you got a big array of fiber lines coming out. Most of what you have in your yard would kind of generally be like a pedestal. It's the small ones. Those have a terminal in them. So those terminals are then spliced into the cabinet. So, so like inside of a terminal, you can feed, we generally stay around 6 customers per terminal. You can do more than that, but it's just a matter of distance of how far away from the pedestal are you getting. Where does it make more sense to add another pedestal? But that's mostly what you see in your yard there is, the little green pedestals.
Huh.
You talked about kind of project phases. Where are we in the phase 1 right now?
Phase 1, yep. So we've been rolling out residentially fiber, kind of following the electric department whenever they reconductor.
Sure.
It adds opportunities for maybe 50 homes a year. So now the staff has worked with consultants to kind of show that there's a good return of investment for the city and for the community on this. So we'll be rolling this out in about 3 phases, 1 to 2 years apart. And like I said, after this phase, we'll have the opportunity to bring on about 500, maybe 750 customers, depending on how
Sure.
those mainline fibers end at the end.
Sure. So if somebody were to want to investigate where am I at in the phase, can I get fiber at my house right now? Limited city limits right now, I'm assuming, obviously.
A little bit. We were awarded a grant to get up to Lake Constant, so we'll kind of build our network out just a little off city limits, but the main focus is everything in city limits. New subdivisions are the fortunate ones. We have to put new electrical and water, sewer in those. So yes, we're going to run fiber in those new subdivisions.
Well, the hole's already open.
Yep.
Just do it.
There's a logical sense there.
Yeah.
And then we have some older areas. So it's kind of a little bit of older areas and newer areas right now. You get to reconductor, move electrical wire overhead to underground, and that'll just follow suit too. So we do have a map. We don't have it posted on a public website, but there we have Amy, our business support specialist, works with a lot of folks on the inquiries and builds out that map. So we kind of know where to strategize, where the pockets are. People are very, very interested as well.
Sure.
I have a feeling that Buffalo is probably not the first community to do a project like this. Have you been able to kind of pick the brains of other communities in terms of like, how did you phase this out? What was the process like? And kind of, get some ideas from other communities that have maybe full fiber service and in the process?
Yep. I came from Brookings, South Dakota. So I've been to Buffalo about 3 years now. In Brookings, South Dakota, they rolled out a full fiber project down there. They're a university town, and they got a lot of opportunities to put fiber throughout the community. It took them about 4 years to roll that out, and saw a lot of success. They had a coax competitor in town, and I think they own about anywhere from 60 to 80% of the market down there. So,
Wow. That has, well, maybe you can't speak to it. Maybe you can. When Buffalo decided to do this phase out, was there any pushback or strong arming from, hey, that's our internet? Like from competitors who say, hey, we don't want this. Or is it just, shouldn't they go to fiber too at some point?
absolutely. I mean, we shouldn't be the only fiber company in town. I think that's ISPs need to be competitive because we don't want to be yeah, we don't want to see that. And I think that's what we're starting to see, some diversification. We're starting to see some competitive rates with the other local providers, and that's a good goal for the city to provide that to the community as well.
Sure. In maybe you have the figures right now, maybe you don't, but you just go on to any type of, I'll bring Wild Marsh into it. Now it's not city owned or city operated like that. It was just kind of a money suck for it. And you go in on any of the community pages of just utilities are so high, and some people just do a little bit more digging and, for whatever reason, there's usually some investigatory place where you need to be to find out why. Do you anticipate big feedback on that of just saying, why are we doing this? Or have you had any feedback of, why is the city investing in this? What's that call like if somebody is a keyboard warrior?
We haven't had too much on the fiber side. There's always going to be a percentage out there that kind of are concerned with government taking over maybe a private business, but focusing on it as a utility, I think that's the change of the world. That's where we're heading. We kind of talked about that earlier of why do you need fiber? Well, 15 years ago, I might have had 5 devices, maybe 2 devices connected, a computer and a tablet. Well, now I look at my own house and I got 30 devices sometimes. I have a few kids over, I got 42 devices. So
Yeah.
it's like, where's this all coming from? So I think that's the why. It's becoming more of a utility. It's usually when you set up your water, sewer, and your electric, it's all, no, I gotta set up my internet before I move in. It's a necessity.
Right.
That's usually the first call. I mean, that we see, like, wait, they're coming over to set up internet. I already got the box in the mail. The closing isn't for a week. Mm-hmm. That's usually more important than the water and electric. I mean, people are on top of that. It's like when we see it in our own business over here, as that utility. And if you think about it, of just how connected we are, whether you love it or hate it, I think we could all take a break from any type of internet, except during this 30-minute segment of the Buffalo Community Podcast. It shuts down for 15 minutes. I mean, the world seems to shut down. I mean, so when you look at it of just like, it's going to be a normal thing of, almost when free Wi-Fi, I mean, not saying it's free, but like you go somewhere, it's like, there's internet everywhere. And to not have good internet is almost like, what? You're a little bit disenfranchised as a human now of just saying, but I don't know. I digress on that part of just good internet is going to be expected to be here, and it'll just be a normal thing to have. I mean, as these younger generations get older, again, I had dial-up. That was fun.
Yep.
Don't answer the phone.
Yeah.
But I digress on that. I don't even know if I had a question there. But anything you kind of want to specifically touch on of just maybe a little more on the technical side or just the business side of it?
Just the investment in the community. I think you touched on some good points there. The move to fiber is that consistent, reliable speed. Having a Buffalo Fiber just focus on the community of Buffalo is going to be very impactful. I go back to Brookings. Wyndham has a municipal fiber. Monticello had a municipal fiber. So we learned from some of that too. So there are quite a few folks we talk to as we build our strategy out. But just being able to provide that redundancy, I mean, that's what we're looking for. We don't have to worry about building this out for a whole county or a metro or anything. We just want to make sure we have the best fiber for Buffalo. That's the mission.
What happened on Monticello? You said they had one.
I don't want to get, I don't know the full details, but eventually
they don't have it anymore.
They don't have it anymore.
Thank you. That's a safe position.
I think they were going to build out a municipal fiber, and then there was a competitor that came in, so they were kind of going neck and neck trying to make a competitive business.
Sure.
Right now we don't have, no one else is building fiber in Buffalo. There's a few fiber lines running through, but no one else has said, hey, we want to build out fiber too. And that's why the city, give credit to Merton Auger for putting this in place. Many, many years ago, he wanted a fiber ring in Buffalo to serve the city and the city's infrastructure.
Yeah.
Now there's a vision of, well, let's make this bigger. Let's make this a utility. Let's be able to serve the customers as well.
A while back, Stephen, you said something about the first fiber lines getting put in like in 2001.
Yeah.
Does that mean fiber internet has been in Buffalo since 2001? Or I guess, what do you mean by that?
So the initial fibers that were in Buffalo were a backbone, right? They kind of, the original BWIG with the Wave Rider radios and stuff like that, that first system that came in during that time, which is to the same thing, kind of what Jason was saying, to the credit of what Merton brought to the city with internet, was at the time there wasn't a high-speed internet service provider in Buffalo. So it's the thing there was, okay, well, what can we do to provide it? Let's build something, which is kind of why that was the start of everything that's happening now, right? So that first backbone was to connect city buildings together to feed that initial Wave Rider system and get that going, which then eventually evolved into the quantum system, which was brought in about 2009, and which is eventually what has gone away. And now we've brought in and said, okay, our backbone's great. Let's just feed that service to everybody. We've already been doing it for ourselves. Let's bring it to the customers. And that's kind of where that all started to go in that direction.
Got it. Second stupid question. You mentioned fibers can break, obviously. Glass the width of a hair.
Yep.
And you said there's 200 and something in...
It depends on the fiber size, right?
So I guess, are you like putting these things in the ground with like white gloves and carefully placing dirt on top of it as to not break it? Like, it seems incredibly fragile.
So a lot of fiber cables are armored for like mainline. So they have metal shielding on them to help protect. The fiber itself is also considered bend insensitive, and I kind of generally air quote that because how bend insensitive is glass. It can withstand a lot. Are we careful? Yes. But so for instance, when we pull a main line through a piece of conduit, we use what we call a capstan puller. It's a big hydraulic wheel, and you wrap the fiber, and the wheel has to be big because you don't want the tight diameter with the fiber because that's what can cause it to break. So when you wrap the fiber around that wheel, you do a few wraps and you pull the fiber through. Well, that doesn't break it, right? So obviously it can withstand a decent amount.
Okay.
But you always have to be careful because a bad kink can break a fiber, or even what we call micro or macro bends in fiber is just like in a box, if you wrap it too tight or you have a weird bend, that can cause some loss across the fiber. But that's because it's a laser shooting through a piece of glass, right? Any sort of bends, it's going to try to escape. So it's, but we test everything we put in the ground, right? It's, we verify and double verify and triple verify everything before a customer has service because it is glass, and we are aware of the fact that, there is a chance that it can break.
What a world.
Cost-wise, is it anticipated to break even, to make money? What's that pie in the sky vision for as a utility for Buffalo?
We used Doug Dawson does a good job. CCG Consulting really put together a good financial plan for us to kind of look at and consider some of the big investment that it does take. We do talk millions of dollars to get fiber throughout, point A to point B and C and D, north, northeast, south, and west. The return of investment it's all about the take. What's the percentage of penetration? That penetration needs to be in that 30 to 40%, and it'll start kind of paying for itself in that 10 to 12, 15-year mark. So
sure,
there's a good ROI there. As far as a utility and the way the world's moving. So there's confidence in this. There's also risk too, which doesn't make
Like anything.
like anything, but that's what municipal government and public sector. We like to have more assurance, so it is a little more risk than probably your typical business plan, but just providing that investment for the community has been the sound mission that we're trying to approach.
Sure. All right. Well, I think that kind of runs out my questions about it.
I think one thing I'd like to touch on is just that experience from the install, if you guys don't mind.
Oh, please do.
And Stephen brings that to the table every time. He does a lot of our residential installs. Right now he's doing about everything. So to be honest, we are looking to bring another guy on board. And with the expansion, we have to kind of lift that barrier of not being able to make all those installs. But that install commitment isn't, we don't put a stopwatch on Stephen. We don't say, you got to get out of there in 20 minutes. We got 10 installs to do. We make sure that he has the time to commit to the customer. And the business installs are even a little more deeper. We do the site survey. We spend the time. We make sure we have the external taken care of and the internal, and just make sure everything's good to go, because that's a big transition for a business to switch their ISP. It's not something you want to do on a whim. So
Right.
But,
So you're saying you guys are hiring
yeah.
as of March 15th, 2024. So that's true, right?
Well, we actually just hired someone.
Okay. So
Yep.
breaking news, March 15th, 2024. That job is no longer available. Okay.
But there'll be more in the future, though.
Yeah,
As
as it
this
expands.
as this grows, as it expands, absolutely.
So as you're driving around town and you see the big wheel and Steven and his big beard, just let him work. He's got a very important job.
Say, hey, Steven. Yeah.
Probably got 10 installs he's got to get done.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 20
Which
minutes.
house is that?
20 minutes.
That's the podcast guy. So, well, thank you for coming in, educating us a little bit about it. All 250,000 of our listeners really appreciate it.
Awesome.
But for the Buffalo Community Podcast, I'm Tyler Reese.
I'm Mark Benzer.
Jason Musburger.
Steven Doubt.
Thanks for listening to the Buffalo Community Podcast, produced by Edlin Media. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube, as well as anywhere you listen to podcasts.